everyone, and welcome to the new episode of our podcast, Beyond the Band. My name is Margo. I'm an IELTS trainer and a co-founder of MasterIELTS Online and Master Exams. Here with me, I have Nash, who is a professional IELTS trainer and former IELTS representative. And we are going to discuss a very important issue today that we're going to answer the question that many students ask: why, after years or months of practice, they still find it so difficult to achieve their target band. So, Nash, why don't you say a few words to welcome our listeners, and we'll start.
So, hi everyone. Yes, my name is Nash Akthar. So, it's a pleasure to be here. I think it's a very important topic because we do see students taking the exam several times and they find it difficult to achieve their required score. So, yeah, Margo, I think you can start with the first question and I can just respond accordingly.
Well, basically, there's only one question: why does it happen? What could be the reasons, right? The biggest reason, of course, there might be many, right? It could depend on many factors, but what are the biggest reasons for that?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Now, first we'll look at students or candidates who are quite fluent. Now, let's say they do use English at work and they don't have a language barrier. And then the question is, why do they struggle? Now, my answer for this is that, first of all, they need to assess their level. Now, yes, they can be good, but what about grammar? Do they make mistakes? Maybe even they might make basic mistakes like it have instead of it has, and that could definitely bring down their score. And also the ability to use complex structures, if you're looking at speaking and writing, and also to organize their ideas. So that's an important thing. And if you look at listening and reading, I think that quite often students rely on unofficial materials. Now, even there are some websites where they can do practice tests, but those practice tests don't align with the official guidelines, and that's why they struggle. So, I think if you're planning to prepare for this exam, first of all, you need to assess your level. Now, we have that option too. It's actually for free. And then you need to rely on official materials. And before that, I'm sorry, you need to understand the structure, because for listening and reading, for listening, let's say there are 4 parts, there are question types, and there aren't many question types. You just need to know how to focus, what are the steps you need to follow, and then the essential skills for listening and reading. And then for speaking and writing, you need to understand the requirements, what examiners really look for. And you need to see whether you have those skills or you need to master those skills and then focus on practice tests. Now, quite often, students, they start with practice test and they make too many mistakes. Then they keep on doing practice test and, they don't make progress. And that really affects their morale, and also they don't feel confident. So I think here you just need to organize yourself. And when I say organize, you just need to know what exactly you should do and work accordingly. That's my opinion, Margo.
Yes, I think it all comes down to actually learning the structure and understanding what is expected from you, right? I mean, if you just start doing text and practicing blindly without actually knowing what is required, then you just keep repeating the same mistakes over and over. That's true.
Very
Yeah.
true. Very true. Yeah.
Right. But then again, why do you think that? I mean, in our practice, in our experience, we've had some students who have taken exams, who have who have done some preparation targeted to IELTS, right? Who have taken the exam so many times, and still they failed to achieve their desired score, even though they did have an idea about the IELTS structure, about how it works. They've had lots of experience, like they've experienced the exam conditions, and still they found it very hard. They kept taking the exam. Why do you think that could be the reason for that?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think we both remember Marina, who had taken the exam 17 times before preparing with us, and then she did achieve her desired score. Now, here, I think, again, you just need to know the format really well. And if someone, let's say, is struggling with reading, right, like they got only 15 correct answers out of 40, even after several attempts, or maybe 20 answers correct out of 40. Here, they need to be very objective. They cannot generalize the issue. So they need to understand, okay, I've made 20 mistakes, or let's say 15 mistakes. Where did I go wrong? With which question type do I struggle the most? Now, if you look at IELTS reading, doesn't matter whether it's academic IELTS or general IELTS, we have different question types. The most common question types are multiple choice questions, true, false, not given, sentence completion or summary completion, right? So, what is the correct approach? Because that's where students struggle. Because, if you watch YouTube videos, I'm sorry to say, different experts give different methods. And sometimes I even wonder whether they are really qualified, because I am kind of really surprised the way they mention techniques like, read quickly, go like a racing car. What is that? So, if you look at IELTS reading, first step is that you need to understand there are 5 essential skills: skimming, to read quickly and understand the general idea, scanning to find specific information, and to identify keywords. When you read questions, you need to read them carefully and you need to identify keywords. It's important not just for reading, but also for listening, right? So, what are keywords? Keywords are words which are important for us to understand the question better. So, if you read a question, if there are adjectives, adverbs, think about synonyms. I think, Margo, you're very good at it. I remember how you used to teach students. So, that's important. And then for summary completion, you need to predict the missing word. What kind of word is missing? Is it a noun? Is it a verb? Maybe it's an adjective or an adverb, right? And then you also need to pay attention to distractors. You see, so when you read, sometimes you need to, we also call it as eliminators, for multiple choice questions. So these are the skills you need to master at the beginning. But, a person who has already taken the exam, and if they, and if, let's say, if they have taken it several times, that becomes a bit of a different situation, because here they need to go back to the basics. So that's what they need to
Mhm.
do. And they also need to be, like I said, objective to understand, okay, where do I make most of the mistakes? Which question type? Maybe for reading, it could be multiple choice questions. And then understand the approach, learn the right technique, and I'm sure that, they're not going to make the same mistakes again. So that would be my answer. I think here you just need to learn all the essential skills. And believe me, IELTS is not a difficult exam. If you understand what is required, and also the essential skills for listening and reading.
Mhm. Yeah, I completely agree with what you said about reading techniques. And actually, it's true. When a person has done so many tests, mock tests, and has taken the actual exam so many times, they feel like they already know it all. They know the format, they know the text, they're familiar with different topics they might face. But it's not, it's actually they're mistaken, because it's not about, yes, of course you need to be ready for a variety of different topics and subjects, right? Not to be scared, right, at the first glance when you see the text and you feel like, oh, I don't understand every single word, how am I going to deal with it? You're not supposed to understand every single word, right? The whole idea is that you need to possess those techniques, you need to master those techniques in order to deal with any text without actually being able to understand every word, without being an expert in that field. Yeah, but because you've seen so many texts, right, of different topics with lots of specific vocabulary, you might think like you've just done it all and it's all down to luck. But it isn't, right? It's actually, yeah, getting back to basics and really understanding what you need to do, like the first, starting from baby steps. Yes, that's what you need to do. It's true. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
And of course, we can't overlook the exam conditions, right? I mean, it is a stressful situation taking an exam, right? So we've known very confident, good English speakers, right, who didn't get their desired score just because they just didn't perform well under pressure. And so how do you deal with that? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. And I think good that you raised that point now. Yeah, because I couldn't cover that point. Yes, that's true. So the thing is, you see, when you prepare for the exam, and it's not just for IELTS, for any exam, you know, you kind of divide it into two parts. Like the first part of your preparation, like I said, you need to acquire essential skills, become familiar with the format, rely on official materials. During the latter stage of your preparation, let's say you have 2 weeks left for the exam, then you need to focus on practice test. That's important. And at the same time, I think it's very important to visualize. You see, that's like, when you're performing, because quite often students say this, they say, like, I get nervous. I don't know what to do in front of the examiner. And I've been preparing for so many months, but at the exam, I just freeze. That happens because they just visualize that situation, like where they're going to get stuck, they're going to become nervous. So, although it might sound a bit strange, I think they need to visualize themselves speaking confidently, performing really well, and that's going to help the subconscious mind for sure. That's number one. Number two, I think they need to simulate exam conditions. Margo, I've seen students, what they do is not that I've seen, I know, like, they do practice test at home. Maybe they do a bit of IELTS reading, then they're on their phones, then they kind of do a bit of listening, and maybe they get all the answers right and they feel confident. But at the exam, it's a very different situation. Now, let's be very honest. You have listening first for half an hour, then you have reading for 1 hour, and soon after that, you need to write essays, like task 2, 250 words. So, under pressure, it's going to be very different. So, it's very important to simulate exam conditions. Now, we offer the mock exam in our courses because we understand the importance of it. And I think you need to simulate exam conditions at home. Like, first do listening, then reading, time it, then write your essays. And before the exam, especially the last week, you need to make sure whether you're able to write a task to essay within within 40 minutes. And then task one within 20 minutes. So that's important. You see, and also with speaking, right? You need to have a speaking partner or maybe to join some speaking workshops like we have, and you do need to simulate exam conditions. That's the way forward. And that's part of being organized with your preparation too. So, yeah, that's a very important point, Margo. And I think students who struggle, and even the ones who are fluent, that's how we started our conversation today. I think they also need to see whether they are simulating exam conditions at home and how they are coping with pressure. And like I mentioned, they need to visualize. That's an important part as well. Yes.
Yeah, I would also like to add that while preparing for speaking, it's always a great idea to record your answers while you're practicing on your own, and then listen back to them, and you might be really surprised, like by maybe some mistakes that you make you without even noticing, maybe some slips, maybe some unnecessary filler words or noises that might lower your marks while answering the examiner's question. And apart from that, I think practicing in front of a mirror is always a good idea. Actors do that. They need to perform under pressure. Why not you? I mean, because it is a very stressful situation. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Marwa, I think I agree with you 100% about recording yourself. And we've seen students doing that and they really improved. And most of them, they even thanked us suggesting that, right? Because, like you said, sometimes some students feel like, for speaking, I need to have a native speaker to practice with a native speaker. I even had a lady actually had invited my friend who's an American to practice her speaking. And, well, he kind of was interested. And then he realized that she was meeting him frequently just to practice her
Mm.
IELTS speaking answers. But I can't say that's going to be the correct approach. Margo, you're right. Because if the candidate is familiar with the assessment criteria, right, they can always practice, listen to their answers after professional guidance, maybe, right, and then re record themselves again and again. And I'm pretty sure that's going to pay off. That's going to be really beneficial. So, yeah, I think you're giving some nice suggestions, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be useful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we've discussed the main reasons and we kind of discussed the solutions. Let's just summarize. Yeah. What are the key components of, you know,
True.
achieving the target score?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I think basically what is very important is that you need to assess your current level. That's an important thing. And when we say assess, it's not just about grammar. Even for speaking, right? You need to see whether you're coherent, whether you're able to elaborate ideas, whether you have the ability to use complex structures, right? Whether you're able to connect your ideas. So that's important. And for listening and reading, whether you are able to implement these essential skills. And also, guys, you need to question yourself whether you read frequently on a daily basis, whether you listen to podcast, whether you listen to audiobooks. And I personally know that Margot loves to listen to audiobooks. Margot, before I go forward, can you tell me how it's going to be beneficial? Because I know that it's your uh, regular habit. So can you tell our audience how it has benefited you, if you don't mind?
I just can't stress enough how much I love audiobooks, how much I think they're super beneficial for English improvement, for like all the skills that you have, well, like that you need to develop when learning a language. So basically, when you listen to an audiobook, and maybe at first, when you're still like intermediate, up intermediate, you look at the text and listen at the same time. And that way you link the written words, the spellings, right, with the way the words are pronounced. And that is so, so important for training your ear to identify different, because very often people can read, but they cannot understand when the same text is spoken, right? Is pronounced by somebody. It depends on the accent. It depends on the, person's individual ways of speaking. So to train your ear to be able to understand any speech, any accent, this is a great way to do that. Of course, like say it works the same way with watching films or TV series, like with subtitles. It's also great, like it's great training exercise. But when it comes to audiobooks, it's different. You get a lot more text, more complex sentences, a much like richer vocabulary, right? That really expands your uh, grammar as well. So yeah, you should definitely kind of pay attention to that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's a very good habit. And, there's a famous saying. They say that bad habits are easy to start, but hard to live with. Good habits are difficult to start, but easy to live with. And I know sometimes we feel like we should spend more time on social media after a long day. We all feel like that. But then, you need to kind of encourage yourself. And this is going to be a long term investment, and it's going to be really useful if you're preparing for this exam. So, yes, expose yourself. That's important. Or, like I said, you need to ask yourself whether you do get yourself exposed to English, like listening, reading. So that's an important thing. And then, of course, you need to become familiar with the structure. We discussed it today. And then start preparing. And then, of course, during the latter stage, simulate exam conditions. So those are the steps you need to follow. And I'm pretty sure if you do, you will definitely achieve a very good score. Yeah, I guess, Margot, that's it for today, right?
I think so. There's so much we can talk about concerning IELTS, but I guess that'll be for our next episodes. Thanks for watching and listening to us, and I hope it was useful. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, guys, you can also let us know what kind of content you would like from us. So leave them in the comment section below. We will take it seriously and we'll try to make our channel more useful for you all. So, yes, thank you very much. Yes, until then, yeah, have a great day. Goodbye, guys.